Hello! We're talking about Baizhu. This is Baizhu pre-release. Here we go. So, you guys understand what Baizhu is, correct? If you don't, we're going to quickly go through it. Baizhu is a Dendro healer. His E skill heals you a lot, heals the entire team. His burst heals one character. Also heals you a lot and gives you a small shield. Okay? So we're going to start there. He has a buff to make up for his shielding mechanic. It is an HP-based A4, which also is coincidentally the stat that his healing scales on. Generally, this is roughly equivalent to 250 EM from Nahida-ish for Aggravate spread carries. If you do want to think about it in that sense. His E skill generates guaranteed 3 particles with a 50% chance for a 4th. The 4th comes out at a little bit of a delay. His E skill is a 10-second cooldown, so we're actually going to talk about energy first. Because I think it is the most important thing to talk about with this character. Thought it was worse until like 600 AM or something. Technically, yes. I'm talking about for spread aggravate characters. The point is that it's comparable. I'm not giving exact values, but the point is that it is comparable. And you build a lot of EM on a lot of these characters. So, we talked about the energy gen on his E skill. E skill. 3 plus 0.5. So what does this mean? Are you guys aware of Yelan? Are you guys aware of this character, Yelan? From the video game Genshin Impact? Who has a 10-second cooldown on her E skill? Yeah? Yeah, that's your wife? Okay, good. So, you've seen a lot of art of her? We're gonna break down Baizhu ERX pretty simply. There is 1E rotations, 2E rotations, and then there's double Dendro stuff. These are your 3 energy like setups. Two E rotations, yeah, just like Yelan. Any rotation you would do with Yelan, you can do with Baizhu to get actually good energy gen from him. Otherwise, you're looking at pretty astronomically high energy recs. Even with energy reducing weapons, you're still looking at, I'm even going to highball it here, and we're going to say 250. So this is for solo Dendro. R5 Ember? Yeah. Here, I'll give a range. Even with R5 Ember, I would still build like over 200 ER. Baizhu's weapon buff matter, it gives him a bit more energy gen. Which is fair, but I'm pretty sure it's worse than his C1. I am fairly sure it is worse than his C1. We are actually going to talk about the cons because I think they are important to mention. 2E, just like Yelan, you're going to look at 200 to 180, 190. Like 210 to 190. Double Dendro, you're going to be looking at 180 to 160. depending on your number V skills. Double Dendro, 1E or 2E. Ideally, it is 2E, and that'll get you as low as possible. But it's literally, it's very similar to Galon. Keep in mind, Dendro character particle gen is either DMC, which is 2 particles, Kole, which is 3 particles, Hatham, which can generate 6 particles per rotation, and Nihita, who can also generate 6 particles per rotation, which is pretty nice. And Baizhu will not be on field to collect these things. Triple Dendro, your requirements? Triple Dendro, you'll be looking at 130. Basically, you won't really need ER for Triple Dendro. Hopefully, for Triple Dendro. Especially because you're going to be doing 2Es in it. Tighnari? Tighnari is similar particle gen to all this here. Is he good in Triple Dendro? We're going to talk about teams, but I will give you the point of comparison now because I'm going to be talking about this a lot. Okay? In terms of impact on teams and team damage, Baizhu is similar to similar to Kuki. He is, at minimum, comparable to Kuki. That is the TLDR for this character. The way we currently build Dendro teams, he is just really similar to Kuki. The biggest difference is 1, he requires energy. 2, he's Dendro, so what that means for team building is he opens up an offensive Electro slot instead. We'll talk about what that might look like and why it's important, where it is useful. And 3, he heals a lot more. But he also may or may not buff less. Is this shield worth anything here? We're actually going to talk about the shield right now. Shield plus heal. Coughing part will be hot. Kuki is sweet. So Baizhu does give you a shield. Now, this shield is very small, but that's okay. Do you know why that's okay? No matter what, attacks that break shields do not knock you back. Shield automatically equals interruption resistance for at least 1 attack. So that means when you are getting attacked by, let's say, the Scorpion, and you get overloaded before it hits you, you won't get knocked across the map or take the full overload damage. Does that make sense? Scorpion Smash. All the new enemies are multi-hit attacks. How useful is it? I can tell you there is a turtle enemy coming in the next update, and the turtle enemy has an ICD on the damage it can do to you. Which is really funny. I think it's an animal. I don't think it's a real enemy. But the turtle will have some kind of multi-hit that can only hit you once. I do know that's a thing. Turtle, let's go. Anyway. Oh, what else? Yes, it is a Dendro shield, which means it will automatically take less damage from Bloom Cores. Dendro resistance, which equals less bloomage. Less bloom. Oh. Damage. Basically, the shield is useless? Not at all. Basically, the shield is useful. And even if it doesn't provide much in terms of literal HP, the interruption resistance and the Bloom Core resistance just make it good. It is not that it's useless at all. It's just good. He buffs Nilu Bloom, right? You have to be on field to receive his buff. He also may or may not have to heal. We're also going to talk about the heal. His E skill is most comparable to a Gene Burst in terms of healing. So you know that big burst of healing that you get whenever you use Gene's Burst? Yeah, that happens anytime you press E on Baizhu. Wine. Full party HP heal. Power creep alert. His burst heals you more like Kuki's E skill, but it also heals you a lot. It's basically a Yao Yao burst for a single character. It's a lot of healing over time from this. First is Stonks. This character is going to heal you a lot. Now, in exchange for... Someone call him a walking statue of the 7? Yes. So here's the thing. In exchange for all of that, he basically does no damage. You know how we meme about Dia? And how low her damage is? Yeah, Baizhu literally does less damage than Dia. But that's okay! He has piss slow damage. Depends how much HP you have, and if you're on a healing bonus at. Impossible? It's not impossible, and it's not that big of a deal. Like Kokomi, yeah. All he needs to do is proc seeds, so it's fine. Yeah, actually protects the team, yes. ER HP healing bonus. So here's his A4 has a cap at 40 or 50,000 HP. I have to check. It is 50,000. Okay. So all things are of the earth. His A4 talent. This provides buffs for an on-field character who is healed by his burst. This is about 40% spread aggravate damage bonus and 200% for the bloom reactions burning. He took the Hippocratic Oath. It's fraudulent that he does more than 0. Amber, ER sands, or Fav HP sands? He's not really going to have crit rate. But his E-skill is a multi-hit. So you may have inconsistencies with Fav, you may have consistencies with Fav. If you have a high refined Fav, a 10-second cooldown, and multi-hit means he can actually proc Fav twice per rotation if you have at least R3 or better. Which is similar to Yelan, which is another reason why Fav is so good on Yelan. And that will also make Fav really strong on Baizhu for the exact same reason. But Amber helps him personally a lot with the ER stuff. I would generally say go Fav with an ER, with an HP Sans. But you can go ER Sans with Amber. You may not even need as much ER. Ideally, you can get your ER from subs. How much ER would you need? It'll depend on the team. Whether or not you're playing with other Dendro characters. If you are doing 2E rotations and he is in a multiple Dendro character team, I would actually recommend this set. 4-piece Instructors is a goated set. 120 EM for 8 seconds. Ah, beautiful. I actually have a full HP Instructor set waiting to go. I am gonna try to run him. I'm gonna run him with this. Abso-fucking-lutely. I already run instructors, Kuki. How do you reach your X? You get lucky. Also, his A4, it's good. It mostly buffs on-field units, so the characters that are really benefiting from this are semi-limited in the first place. If you wanted to look at it in the case of Hyper Bloom, your Hyper Bloom trigger would have to be on-field to actually get the benefit from this, which is almost never the case unless you're playing Sino. Can you snapshot that? No, you cannot snapshot that. Transformative reactions in general do not snapshot. A lot less skipping. Ugh. You'll be pulling him for Sino God? Okay. I do want to talk about Sino, specifically. So we're going to talk about teams first. So we're going to go in-game to talk about teams, okay? We are going to pretend that Yao Yao is Baizhu. Good news or bad news? Sino is a character with an 80 cost burst. It is genuinely hard to be. Sino's biggest issue is the fact that his burst is a commitment. Once you use Sino's burst, there is no way to quickly get it back. Which is why Sino generally wants to be paired with a second Electro character, like, say, Fischl. Now, if your team already looks like this, you only have one slot. So you could theoretically run a Hydro there. Or you're running an Animo there. But you also need to keep in mind, Baizhu himself actually needs a fair bit of ER. So sometimes you may use another Dendro. And if you use another Dendro, it becomes really hard to actually play Hyper Bloom because you don't have enough character slots for Hyper Bloom. If you do try to play double Dendro Hyper Bloom. You can try to scuff your Sino by getting rid of your residence here for your Hydro. You could try to do it. Take Fischl out for Xingqiu. Keep in mind, Sino does need energy, and his burst is a major commitment. If you swap out prematurely on his burst, you are not getting that shit back. I don't care what the spreadsheet says. That burst is not coming back for at least 20 seconds. And it is a genuine problem with his gameplay. Which is why I'm worried about Sino not really having the team slots to sustain Baizhu as well as I would like, because of how restrictive Baiju's energy situation is, which also kind of brings us to Baiju's Constellations. Baiju's Constellations, specifically C1 and C2, are pretty purpose-built to give him better synergy with Sino, which is interesting. He gets an extra charge on his E skill, just like Yelan. And his C2 gives him unconditional Dendro Wrap and healing, even when his burst is not up. So even when Baiju's burst is not up, he will be applying Dendro and healing your on-field character. Which, his burst is a 15-second uptime. Sino's burst is a 23-second uptime. If you want to have continuous healing for your entire Sino uptime, you would need Baizhu C2. It also gives you additional Dendro Wrap for Hyper Bloom stuff, which addresses another one of the reasons you are playing double Dendro Hyper Bloom in the first place. So that is something to mention, and his constellations seem pretty intentional for that use case. But Sino is not the only character in the game that can be played with him. That is okay. If you wanted to play another Hyper Bloom team, you could play Hatham and play Baizhu instead of Nahida and Raiden instead of Kuki. This is similar. It's just not quite as good, but it is an option. And it is showing that you're basically trading Kuki for a more offensive Electro character. Which also brings us to the Batcat. Also Sino again. Hello. Let's talk the Batcat. If you wanted to play a Ching Aggravate team, you are real, and you want to have a healer, you're realistically thinking about playing Baizhu, or you are playing Baizhu Official, or you're playing Kuki Nahida. The Ember Nahida sweep, that's just simply not as much healing as Baizhu. I don't think the comparison is even fair. We can also talk about Yao Yao as in a support for this team. Her E-skill heals a comparatively insignificant amount compared to Baizhu. Yao Yao's healing is almost entirely in her burst. Her burst heals you a lot, but it is a field time commitment. So if you actually want a healer that will keep your on-field character alive consistently, it would be Baizhu or Kuki, not Yao Yao. Right? That makes sense. You hate Kuki's healing, especially since her E fucks her health. Okay. That's a good sell for Baizhu then. Kainari AI Visual Baizhu? Yeah, you can do that. Absolutely. 100%. That'll work. That's a similar example where you're trading Nahida and Kuki for Baizhu and an offensive electric here. So let's say Baizhu Official. Or Baizhu AI. One or the other. Which is useful, and possibly his best use case. The hypothetical issue with this kind of team, you better do 2 rotations on Baizhu, otherwise you're gonna need a lot of energy. Don't like getting a 5-star healer just because of that though. It's up to you. We can also talk about triple Dendro teams. Nahida, Hatham, Baizhu, Official, or Yai. These are good. These are valid. The major sticking point is it's just not necessarily better than Kuki here, which is fine. If you do want to talk about 5-star pull, the 5-star pull, Kuki can have Key of Kajna's Suit, which just buffs the team more than Baiju's A4. So that's nice. And they can both carry instructors. You also get more official A4s if you are using official Kuki because of a burst. Or Sapwood. Yes. Or Sapwood. Sapwood instructors Kuki voted. It's comfier. It is comfier. I do want to reiterate that. This character heals a lot. Baizhu heals you a lot. And since we're already looking at a bunch of Dendros, we can talk about Nilu. Nilu Bloom. This is the most comparable he will ever be to Yao Yao. Unfortunately, his A4 only buffs the on-field character when they get healed by his burst, which means you would need your Bloom trigger to be on-field to actually get the benefit. Bloom triggers that will be on-field are generally limited to Aido, Artalia, Kokomi, if you drive on her. Which is maybe not the most practical thing. He also seems to apply less Dendro in AoE than Yao Yao's burst. On-field of Baizhu, that won't do anything for you. You could on-field Baizhu with like Yelan or something, or Jingqiao, and you'll get a bunch of blooms that way, but you're not getting use out of his A4. And you can also already do that with Yao Yao. Yao Yao's burst applies a lot of Dendro, especially if she is at C6. But I am interested to try it. I do want to try to on-field my Aido. He has fairly good Dendro up at least single target, which is nice. I think I will be able to actually have my Aido on-field during his burst, and get a fair amount of Aido on blooms in this. He's better on quick swap? No? What does that mean? Can you like Clarify the team you're asking about. How good is his damage bonus passive is to C6, DMC, Nihita, or C1? Yeah, it's pretty similar to those. Quick swap, I'm gonna include this, whatever, fuck it. I hate these terms. They don't mean anything. They aren't useful. They aren't. There is no such thing as a quick bloom team. It is hyper bloom. You're either playing double dendro hyper bloom, double electro hyper bloom, or double hydro hyper bloom. Shut the fuck up about quick bloom. I don't give a shit. It's not useful and it creates bad takes. Like Jingcho is bad in a hyper bloom team because it's not quick bloom. Is his passive better than Zhongli's Dendro Red Shred? For Alhaitham Nihita Electro, he generates Dendro particles, so that's really nice. He can also use Instructors. Yes, he should be better. You could also just use Kuki and get Electro Resonance, Instructors, and Sapwood or Key of Kashnisu, which is what I do. You don't need particles, question mark? You kind of always need particles. Particles are nice. Particles are very nice. He also technically does more damage than Zhongli. Which is funny, but it is true. Another weapon option for him is actually Hakushin, but the thing with Hakushin is that spread does not count as electro reaction for Hakushin Ring. Hakushin Ring will work if you proc specifically Quicken. So you need to have an electro aura on the target. But it is a pretty good buff for a few seconds. Kuki is more DPS with Baizhu more defensive. He's not even always more DPS. In a lot of cases, he's either equal or more DPS. The specific case where he's less DPS is the Hatham team. That is the very, very specific case. Where he's more DPS is the Sino or Kaching team. For the Sino or Kaching team, he is just more DPS. Because of how you're able to get Fischl A4s, you're able to do multiple multiple Oz rotations for Fischl. It's good. Pulling for Baizhu is one less Nihita con. That doesn't. Baizhu's a healer, Nihita is not. Do I see any on Yai team? Yeah, it's the same thing. Like, it's the same argument. Here's Tainari. Here's Yai. Here's Kuki. If you want a healer, this is what you're currently doing, correct? So what Baizhu does for you is he gives you a healer by replacing Nihita, and you replace Kuki with Fischl. You use Kazuha over Tainari? Okay, it doesn't matter. Okay, it doesn't matter. It's the same thing. You're trading Kuki Nihita for Baizhu Fischl. Does he add more value to your account than getting Kazuha C2? I have no idea what characters you play. I talked about teams, I talked about weapons. I kind of briefly brushed on weapons before. Hakushin is good, Pamber is good, his 5-star weapon is good, Favonius Codex is good. He has synergy with Favonius Codex in multiple rotations because of the 10-second cooldown. If you have R3 or above Favonius Codex, I would highly recommend using it. He also has a 4-hit multi-hit on his, or 3-hit multi-hit on his Z skill. I got Pamber, and there is also TTDS in these Aggravate teams for your Electro character. You can use TTDS. Set options, Instructors, Deepwood, 2-piece HP, 2-piece HP, 4-piece Clam. That damage bonus passive in comparison to others in real numbers. In real numbers, it is a 5% damage increase for Hatham over not having Baizhu's A4. It will be relatively similar for Kaching. Other characters, it's alright. It's something. It is more impactful for Hyperloom triggers, but Hyperloom triggers that are on field are kind of a limited niche right now. Would he be worth using in something like Double Dendro Burgeon? If you want a healer. Sure. But having 2 Dendros in your Burgeon team doesn't really do that much. I would not recommend playing Double Dendro Burgeon. When you apply Dendro to burning, the burning is maintained. Which is kind of a problem. You kind of really want to be playing Double Hydro if you want to play Burgeon. In which case, hey, you can play Baizhu as an on-field driver for your Bloom comps. He does have off-field Dendro app. He does have on-field Dendro app because he's a Catalyst character. He's a healer. So you can do it. But again, like, questionably better than Kuki. Actually, questionably worse than Kuki. How good is the exploration passive? Really good. You just get healed. Right. But hey, Baizhu is at bare minimum competitive with Shinobu, and he heals a fuck lot more. So, Baizhu, in my opinion, is a pretty damn good character. Do I personally have much use for him? No, not really. But you know what? That's okay. Someone else might. Someone might not own Kuki. And might not own Nahida. So yeah, Baizhu's great. I think he's a good character. I think he's got a lot of teams. I think he's got a lot of options. I think he's pretty good.